Right.
But we're talking about the guys, man. We're talking about, I mentioned Tyson Fury, I mentioned blah, 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 blah. This, man, look. Tyson Fury and Wilder were fight of the year. Until these two young ladies, Mikaela Mayer and Maiva Hamadouche. This is co-fight of the year. I would implore all boxing fans to go watch this fight. These two ladies gave it all. For me, I love all boxing, right? Women's boxing. I'll even watch, Jake Paul. I'm actually excited about Jake Paul versus Fury.
Yeah.
Tommy Fury on the 18th. It is right here in Tampa. We're gonna check that out, man. But when you just talk about boxing, this was Gotti Ward with two women at their peak, with two fighters at their peak. This was amazing. These women were trading bombs. It's unfortunate, the scorecards going back to your pod quote of the day. Yeah. But I'll let you take the floor, man, and really elaborate on that, because I was just blown away. It's always nice in boxing when you get a surprise, a nice little treat, and it just ends up being an amazing fight. So thoughts and reactions.
I first off, I gotta say that I gotta applaud both Mikaela Mayer and Maiva Hamadouche, because first off, Maiva Hamadouche, she put her name on the map.
Yes.
Point blank period. She put her name on the map. A young lady out of France who been a IBF, I believe, title holder for I think 5 years. They said it's been a while since she had that IBF belt. So she definitely put her name on the map. And on the side of Mikaela Mayer, I have to admit, man, a lot of people have watched Mikaela Mayer, I think a couple of times on ESPN. And without a doubt, she showed everybody something that they did not know she had in this fight. Like, I personally, from other fights that I saw, I feel you, bro, one of them. But from this fight, I actually looked at it and I was like, dang, I did not even know that Mikaela Mayer had dog in her like that. I mean, she was willing to dig down and fight Maiva Hamadouche's fight and go toe-to-toe, blow for blow with the young lady. So I think it was an excellent fight. And the thing about, women's boxing that I love, and I will say this when you start to compare, women's sports, because a lot of people sit there and they say, women's sports are different and, this, that, and the other. And I will say certain sports are different when you try to compare men and women. But I'm going to say this. There's two sports, though, that when you tune in, all right, you could see just as much greatness in the same thing as if men were doing it. And there's two things. And that, to me, is tennis.
Oh, goodness.
And to me, that is also boxing.
Yeah, combat sports, yeah.
Right. Combat sports and in those two sports, like, because, when you talk about basketball or something like that, people say, I want to see him dunk. I want that slam my jam.
Yeah. Alley-oops, that sort of thing, yeah.
And sometimes with the ladies, you can't get that. You can get some crossovers and that Steph Curry action, but you might not get the high-flying dunk.
Yeah. You're not going to get the poster.
Right, you're not going to get the poster. But when it comes to boxing, right, this is a sport when you put the best against the best. Like you said, man, this is co-fight of the year. And this right here is better than any other fight outside of Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder that any other men have had going on this year. These young ladies put on an absolute show and went in a phone booth. And I got to salute both of them for putting on the show. And I really hope to see Hamadouche again.
Yes.
And we know we're going to see Mikaela Mayer again. Only thing I didn't like, and I'm sure most people would attest and agree to this statement, that Hamadouche did not deserve to come all the way to the United States of America and put her heart and soul in that ring and have those judges say she only won one said 0, one said 1 round, and then what else will say 2? Right. Yeah. So unfortunately, even though the right person did win the fight, Mikaela Mayer, I do believe, won the fight. I know that was a very sad ride home for Hamadouche because she had to go home feeling like the fix was already in.
Yeah, there was nothing she could have done. Yeah, right. It's sure to knock her out, and she was damn sure trying. Right. Oh my goodness. And to your point, we were talking about this, before we even did the show. We were actually talking about as it happened. You saw as the scorecards start rolling out, you saw the life being sucked out of Hamadouche. Right. She's like,
she knew.
I'm not coming to America and they're not giving me this scorecards. There's no way, I'm getting the 10-0, scorecard. Right. Mm-hmm. And you just saw she was confident. She had her hands raised. And then as they scorecards start coming out, she's just, oh yeah, they got me. She already knew. And that's unfortunate when you saw what both ladies left in that ring, right? You owe it to Mikaela Mayer to call that fight fair and square, because those scorecards aren't indicative of what really happened. And what really happened, is really, it could be the fight of the year. Because one thing I will say, the Wilder Fury trilogy was so exciting just because of Wilder's heart, right? We know there was a skill deficit, but that right hand was his heart, and his right hand was carrying him. Man, but when you're talking about skill level, heart, determination, two equally matched, champions, this should be fight of the year. I mean, they were trading. And to be honest with you, the first 2 rounds, I was like, oh, we're about to see Mikaela Mayer get upset. She wasn't having that, man. She wasn't even breathing hard. She just went to that place, and you would see her just kind of lean into it. Let's go. I'm gonna work this body, and my Hamadouche, Maiva would just come right back. And so I found myself getting out of my seat. Right. Like you do when those big moments in boxing. And this is a big moment in boxing. This is a transcendent performance in women's boxing that might not get so I'll go ahead and say it. I've never seen too many fights like this. Just not going to qualify it. But to qualify it, this is the greatest women's match I've ever seen in my life.
hey man, that is not a stretch. Honestly, I'm gonna keep it real. For me, I agree. I think that was the best, most competitive women's match that I personally have seen either, man. And I will say, just to wrap this up, for me, I think it's a great thing, man, with women's boxing that, even for myself as a fan, I'm loving women's boxing right now. I mean, we cannot really think of a time in history where a person could literally, if you're a real true boxing head, a real true boxing fan, where you could honestly name off 5, 6, 7 women's fighters. I mean, we're talking Mikaela Mayer, we're talking Katie Taylor, we're talking Amanda Serrano, we're talking the GOAT, Clarissa Shields.
Yeah, this is,
we're talking Natasha Jonas, we're talking Terry Harper, we're talking Delphine Persoon. We're talking the young lady from Chicago, Jessica McCaskill. Yeah. I mean, in this, what a time for women's boxing, and I really hope they can keep
Christina Hammer,
right? Yeah. So it's a hell of a time for women's boxing, man. So hopefully we can get many more bouts like this, man.
And shout out to those ladies. Listen. So remember we were talking, I was like, oh, she could have been fighting tomato cans. So that's why she has so many knockouts. Exactly. Speaking of Hamadouche, oh no, I see why she knocking people out. Man.
Oh yeah, exactly.
You gotta have your shit buckled on tight to withstand that pressure. So shout out to Mikaela Mayer. And those judges should be ashamed of themselves, because when people go back in history and they look at, that fight, when you see it, you'll know what you're watching.
Right.
But, if you go on Boxing Rec like all of us do, and you see unanimous decision, you see the scorecards, that doesn't tell the story. And it's improperly recorded history. Like, it makes me angry, because Mikaela Mayer should be elevated because of her grit and performance, and Hamadouche should be recognized for what she is, and that is a hell of a champion. So and to
your point, man, we need the petition. To your point, man, because you're 1,000% right. Because in history, when we get 5 years from now,
right,
10 years from now, 15 years from now, and you know, we all go on BoxRec and we look at people's records, we look at the history. I think we should petition BoxRec to put an asterisk by that fight.
Yeah, man.
Asterisk by that fight, because you're right. When people see that, it's not going to tell the story of how that was one of the better boxing fights in women's boxing of all time.
Right. And besides, you know, the physical expenditures, like the people put out, like the devastating damage, long-term things that we don't see that it does to their body. Besides that, these judges are in charge of recording boxing history accurately. Right. And it's just like, for this, that's like when Jim Brown's record got broken, or AP, you know, or Devin Henry, whoever has the NFL rushing record, Emmitt Smith, who has the all-time rushing record. That's like them not accurately recording yards after the game. Oh, it doesn't matter. Right. The Cowboys won, or their team won, but hey, he only had, you know, he actually had 175 yards, but you know, I just rounded, you know, down. I think we counted 150. So they boxing, it's bigger than just, you know, and the most important thing is the health of the fighter, and what they actually sacrifice should be recognized and treated with the respect that it deserves. But really looking at it, these men and women who judge these fights are recording boxing history, and they're recording it inaccurately. So I think boxing really, we limit this all the time. They really got to fix that, because it kills the sport, and then it buries people unjustly. Oh, they lost by UD. Oh yeah. You know, because we all do this. All boxing fans do this. You look at their resume, because it's impossible unless, you know, you just, I don't know, all seeing,
unless you watched it personally,
to watch everybody personally. And so you go down and you kind of match records and resumes, like, oh, this guy be that guy, yeah. Because you can guesstimate. So, but you know, but anyway, let me get off my soapbox. It was a great fight. Speaking of great fights, we have some great fights coming up to finish up the year that's going to shape the landscape of boxing in the year 2022. Man,